Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. This is 365 days of writing a short story every day until I become a better storyteller, artist, writer. All right. So the previous day, day 13, was actually the outline. And there was it was real messy. It was no structure. It was just like, a lot of mistakes. So the story today is the rough draft of said story titled Deep End. So it's more structured. It's a little more polished. I think it's a little better. But I still notice mistakes even after reading it again after I finished it. I'm like, oh yeah. But anyways, yeah. So this is deep in rough draft version. The loud, rigorous metallic thumping led to rushing water erupting from the fire hydrant's opening. A plank was wedged in, forcing the rushing spout to morph into a cascading dome. A silhouetted hand pressed through. The water resisted, pulling the hand downward and challenging his strength just for a moment. Thrusting himself into the center, the numbing feeling sent shocks throughout his body. Next, more silhouetted figures burst through the ever moving dome like a portal that transported them to a small pocket dimension. The center space was dry. Sprinklings popped inward from colliding with the ground, but they were fine as long as they were shielded from the heat. Alex really enjoyed this routine summer activity. It was like going to the water park, but the water park just happened to be in front of his home. His mother kept a close eye on him from their first floor window. Almost the entire neighborhood joined in on the fun. Some people brought buckets, others carried pots, pitchers, and water guns to the dome, dousing the onlookers and anyone that passed by as everyone cheered each other on. Drivers would lightly honk their horns, signaling that they wanted a quick rinse. The children politely stepped out of the dome, patiently waiting to resume their festivities. As the sun dwindled, so did the heat recoil. The police showed up to shut the water off because the dome had been left cascading for hours. Alex was the last kid to leave, dampening the carpet with every step as he tracked through the house. Wet, squeaking slush noises filled the hallway as air escaped his shoes. A closet door rolled open, searching for a change of clothing. He tugged and yanked on his PJs until they popped off the hanger, switching out his soaked clothing to a more dry look. He dragged out a large treasure chest. Unclamping the latch, he stabbed his arm in, searching for a specific toy. Then he continued his search for a second toy, but no luck. He abruptly stood up, scanning his room. Sitting in front of the television stand, he found what he was looking for. Then he noticed something on the television that caught his eye. A nature show played frogs gliding through water, legs tucked in, bodies surrendering to the current. He'd always admired that ease. He hadn't had his fill of water related fun. Entering the bathroom, the sound of rushing water filled the tub. He only needed to fill it halfway. Kneeling, kneeling down, and leaning up against the tub, he made loud fighting sound effects, running along the rim of the tub with his action figures, creating an imaginary world only visible through his eyes. He was the perfect puppeteer. Help! One figure dangled from the edge of the rim. Okay, I got you. The figure dropped into the water, sinking to the bottom. Calling from the next room, Alex's father reminded him to get ready. They were visiting his grandmother for the weekend. He staggered upward, pulling the drain latch and leaving his toys in the bathroom. He rushed to the room, to grab his belongings. An hour later, they arrived. An elderly woman opened the door. His father entered carrying Alex over his shoulder the same way he used to when he was a kid, when he was a when he was smaller. The ride over put him to sleep. Up the stairs they went. He laid him down in his old childhood room and placed his belongings bedside. The next morning, he awoke in thick humidity, his skin already damp with sweat. He opened the window, but even the breeze carried heat. Next, he walked to the kitchen, grabbing a cold bottle from the fridge. He's familiar with the neighborhood. They lived up the street for 2 years. He entered the living room. Good morning, Grandma. He smiled. She smiled, returning the gesture. It's so hot. Is anyone going to cut open cut open the fire hydrant? No, it hasn't been open for a while. Her eyes remained glued to the television. He took 4 skips to the windowsill, but the fire hydrant was barren. There was no cascading dome. A group of neighborhood kids passed by, dressed for water-related activities. His curiosity skyrocketed. Grandma, can you take me to the pool? It's too hot to be in this house. She glanced from over her shoulder. As long as you brought your trunks. He shot up the stairs in a flash, emptying out his backpack. There they were, a pair of blue swim trunks that had been packed by his father. Alex decided to stand on the porch as he waited for his grandmother, and the sun was blinding. There was barely any shady spots. Yo, Alex, did you move back over here? Someone shouted. A familiar face. He's known a familiar face approached the gate. He's known Joe since they were in the fourth and fifth grade. His eyebrows perked up. He then ran to the gate. Now I'm just visiting for the weekend. The screen opened and the door locked shut. Her house keys jingled through the humidity. All right, let's go. Look, Grandma, can Joe get a ride with us? He's going to the pool too. Joe politely greeted her. He sure can, she said. They all hopped in the van. The pool was only 30 minutes, only a 30-minute drive. Once they arrived, they seen that it was bustling with young people. Joyous screams and the loud, shattering sound of cannonballs broke the water. Exiting the car, Alex kissed his grandmother on the cheek. Simultaneously, Joe thanked her for the ride. Okay, y'all only got 3 hours, then straight home, you hear me? They replied yes in unison. They raced to the locker room to change in more appropriate swimming attire. Although the locker room was packed, they managed to find a stall. Finally, they emerged and the sun rays intensified. Large signs scattered throughout the pool read no running. They walked down towards the shallow end. As they were walking, a kid got caught for trying to dive into the deep end. The lifeguard approached him and gave him one warning. They found a spot. Joe didn't hesitate, jumping in. The numbing cold didn't bother him at all. Come on, he yelled. Alex slid into the water slowly, embracing the icy coldness. Holding the rim, Holding on to the rim of the pool, Joe pulled his legs up, pushed hard off the wall, and shot across the water, settling into a backstroke. He swam from 3 feet to 5 feet, then back to three again. Alex was in disbelief at how good Joe was at swimming. Now it's his turn. He lowered his goggles, taking in a deep inhale. He dropped into the water. He folded his legs like those frogs and let the water carry him, starting at 2 feet and ending up in four. he he grabbed hold of the edge. He grabbed hold of the edge for support as he swam back. The lifeguard stepped down from the ladder, entering the locker room. Joe had taken notice, tapping tapping Alex on the shoulder. Look, there's no one there. Let's go to see the deep end. Hesitant, Alex declined, pulling himself out of the water. Joe reassured Alex that they would only be there for a moment and then they could leave after. He just wanted to dip his feet in. Alex followed behind him. They treaded all the way to the deep end, and the guard still hasn't returned. They stooped down, gandering into the murky blue abyss. Let's hold on to the edge and then jump out. They both slid in. The resistance pulled their legs down. The feeling of uncertainty terrified them. Okay, let's get out now. At that moment, Alex's hand slipped and he fell back. Joe panicked, stooping down, trying to reach for him. Alex sank quickly. He struggled, and he panicked. The sun became blurry. Joe became a silhouette. Bubbles gargled to the surface. Joe yelled into the waters, but his words were muffled, unable to pierce the depths. Then a humming sound filled Alex's ears. His mind was racing. Joe's silhouette was still there, reaching out, his hand reaching out to him. Alex was suspended in the center of the water. It felt as though he stopped sinking. Suddenly, vivid images of those frogs swimming to the surface flashed before his eyes. Folding his feet, he pushed upwards. The water carried him once more. Extending his arm, Alex grabbed on tightly. With all of his strength, Joe pulled. Alex grabbed onto the edge with the last bit of his strength. He dragged himself up and out of the water, coughing, coughing. He plopped on the ground. Plopping on the ground, the other kids watched in disbelief. Joe patted him on the back, asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Alex wiped his eyes, then nodded his head. "I'm going home." His legs were very heavy and worn, but he trudged towards the exit. The walk home was silent. Tears rolled down his eyes as tears rolled down his face as a fun day quickly turned into a traumatic one. Joe held his hand out, offering a kind gesture. "Are we still cool?" Alex glared at him. "I knew I should have never listened to you." Slowly, he inched up the stairs, pressing the bell. Moments later, the door opened. "You made it back, huh? Did you have fun?" she asked as the door closed. Day 14. This one was a little harder, and I'm still seeing all my mistakes. My mistakes, it's gonna take a while for me to work over those mistakes. I'm even noticing, like, reading that, I'm seeing like words that could have been there, words that weren't there. I'm still editing it, and this is a rough draft, so I already put my structure to it, but I still got it. I noticed that people make two, three, four rough drafts. So yeah, this is only the first one. So yeah, so this is the process, the messy process, and it's just more steps in the right direction towards the goal.